But we're going for a walk. The sky's beautiful. We actually have a warm day, even though it's in November. I have to water the plants. I don't know if it's 80, but it feels 80 or higher. We get that kind of weather sometimes in November in Florida. I was actually doing a live because this guy's plants are pretty good. The reason part of the reason I did the live is because I watch cop videos where they arrest people, and they were just arresting a woman for removing plants. She was, some of it was clipping and some of it was ripping them out, and she was from another country, and she was trying to help. The landscapers didn't know what they were doing, and it was weeds and things from what I could tell. And you can't just do that to other people's property. And she didn't understand that even though things might need to be done, we have that problem here where the landscapers don't always know what they're doing. So here she was trying to help in somebody else's yard. And there's been times where I've seen other people's plants, but I can't touch them, in my lives. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to do the lives, was to talk about that. Because just because the plants in someone else's yard needs to be taken care of doesn't mean you can just rip out weeds and stuff. Sometimes the landscapers are lazy or they don't know what they're doing. And this poor lady's getting arrested because she didn't understand that if it's someone else's property, you can't rip these things out. I found that interesting. So those are the tall pine trees, and we are headed to the store. And I was like, I want to do a live to talk about that. I don't see anybody in the chat yet. But yeah, we are going to the store. With the warmer weather, we'll have to water the plants. During winter, I try not to overwater, but with it being warmer, the sun is actually really important. I'm sure I've explained it a little bit, but the sun will pull out water, moisture and whatnot. So that's actually a good thing. You want the sun to pull that water out so you're not like overwatering, so things don't get too wet. Things like tomato plants. This ain't really the time of year. You can start them now, but if it gets cold in January and February, you could lose your tomato plants. So you can start them now. Some people do. But if you have too much water, like in April or May, then the sun comes out and it'll pull that moisture out. And so then you have to water again. So basically, it's between the rain, whether or not you need to water, and the sun. And the sun's actually a good thing. You want that because it pulls the moisture out. Basically, dry it out, so you don't end up with too much water. Which for many plants is very important. It doesn't sound like you could have too much water, but you can. So like if we get rain for 2 days when in the season when it's hot, and when we don't have any sunshine, let's say it's overcast in June 2021, I keep track every year. 2021, the whole month of June, I almost lost all my plants because it was overcast and there was almost no sun. And so, which is really weird. That's where you get into like conspiracy theories about. That's where you get into conspiracy theories about the about like they're trying to control the weather. They're trying to make it where plants can't grow. So that's, if you ever wonder why sometimes farmers have trouble, that could be part of it, is things like rain. But it rained and then it was overcast the whole month. That was June 2021. What happens is then the sun can't pull. If the sun don't come out for a whole month, it can't pull the moisture out of the soil. So the rain and watering then the sun can't pull it out. So you can lose almost all your plants just by being overcast like that. Overcast for one day is fine, but overcast for a whole month here in Florida, yeah, you could lose it. So we're playing don't get hit by a car. And I don't chance it, you know. If it looks like I could have ran out there in the street, I don't chance it until there's no cars. So if you are walking, I don't recommend walking across highways like that. But if you do, wait till there's no cars. Don't chance that. But yeah, we got a beautiful sun today. Behind here is swamp. I don't see any animals at the moment. But yeah, you can see right through there. I don't know if you can see that. There's water right through there. Yeah, the landscapers have actually done better. That's not a perfect edge line at all, but they've done a much better job because these plants will grow in to the sidewalk, if you understand like landscaping and plants and stuff. So it's not perfect, but they've done a fairly good job compared to how they usually do. Because it will grow onto the sidewalk. There's a grocery cart down. That's if there's a bunch of trash in the grocery cart down, that means that this path right here, they're not always dangerous, but this path right here, that's a homeless path. You can tell because we got grocery cart down, we got trash here. They're not always dangerous, but sometimes they are. So you got to be careful. The police, they were doing a pretty good job keeping an eye on them. But yeah, when you got a grocery cart down like that, that's a sign. That's homeless people camping back there. Because they use the grocery cart to get that far, and then the grocery cart can't come through the woods, so they leave it. So if you just joined, we're in Florida. We are walking to the store. In the beginning of the live, I was talking about a lady who got arrested because she was working on other people's plants, and I'll show you an example. She didn't understand. She was from another country, and she didn't understand that you can't mess with other people's property. But that was part of the reason I did the live. So there's these weeds coming up that I've talked about on my live that can kill these plants. Good morning, Phoenix. There's a dog. He's a good dog. There's a chicken, too. I don't know if the chicken is... This is the dog. I don't know if the chicken is around. But these are weeds that have grown over. There's a plant behind them called a tiki plant. And these weeds have covered. And now the tiki plants are just about all dead. And when I talked about removing, I ain't allowed to do that just because... because it needs to be done. Because unless I'm the landscaper, and so yeah, that was one of the examples of things that this lady got arrested. She didn't know. She was pulling up and clipping all kinds of things and arguing with landscapers. I watched videos where they arrest people, but I didn't expect one about plants. But yeah, if you see something in somebody else's yard, you can't just... I was like, I want to do a live about that because that's interesting. She was trying to tell these landscapers they didn't know what they were doing and removing these weeds and clipping bushes and doing all kinds of things, and you can't just do that in other people's property. So they arrested her. That's here in the States, and she didn't know the way the laws work. So I was like, that's worth making a live about. Because like if I see something in that case, that's good. But if I see things climbing the fence and bushes and things, and in that case, that's a good plant. But you can't just be clipping everything. Or like in this case, we got the bush growing onto the sidewalk. Like I'm on the sidewalk and I have to hit this bush. I don't want to hit that bush. But yeah, if it's, even though it's hanging out under the sidewalk, unless you're the landscaper who's supposed to, or unless you own the property, if it comes out on the sidewalk, you know, you'd think, you know, whatever. But yeah, this lady in the video that got arrested, she was messing with other people's property. That was sad too. I was watching, I was like, oh my gosh, because you can't just help people unless you're hired as a landscaper, or unless you know them and ask them. You know, you can't just be like, all this needs to be cleared. But if I did that, I have to talk to them. I know how to do it too, but with a weed eater. But you can't just do things. So I really feel bad for the woman. She was just pulling weeds and clipping things, and the police were like asking her all these questions, like, how did you do that? I think she had a shovel with her too. And and the police were like, yeah, you can't do that. And so I felt really bad for the woman, because here she is trying to fix stuff. People who understand plants, they see that and they want to help. And no, you can't just go into other people's property and mess with their plants. So even though I felt bad for her, I was like, yeah, you can't. Yeah, they did. They've actually done a really good job. I'm surprised this time of year. They might have been waiting until it was cold, but today is hotter. The sun has definitely come out. Yeah, this edge right here ain't too bad. And that right there, last year I had a job where I did that. That's how I'm familiar with it. Is you got to get a weed eater and get down in that ditch. All right. So we are almost at the start. Now this parking lot here, this is the one when I did a live and there was a flash flood and the water was up to my waist. Believe it or not, this parking lot has a drain right here, but this is the one where the water was up to my waist. It was this drain right here, but right here where I'm standing is where the water was up to my waist, in the middle of a parking lot. That drain should have done good enough, but did not. So yeah, that was my live I did during the flash flood. And if you check out my channel, if you subscribe and check out my channel, you'll see that. I felt like a weatherman out when the weathermen are out in the hurricanes and whatnot. Yeah, I broke a pair of flip-flops doing that too, because the water was up to my waist, and if you're wearing flip-flops, there's like resistance when you pull up from the water. So don't wear flip-flops in a flash flood, because when you go to make a step, every step you take is pulling on the flip-flop because of the water, and you'll break the flip-flop, and sure enough, that's what happened. So here in Florida, we value our flip-flops, and we don't want to do that. Hey, Daisy. This is a little more north than you. I think I'm about 5 hours north. This is Florida. This is our blue sky. It's always good to see you, Daisy Mae. There, you are a moderator. You are a you are a standard moderator. Yeah. So here is where, when I first started doing videos, I think that was about a year ago, or almost a year. I don't know when it was, but there was a falcon over there. Somebody said it was an osprey, but hey, tomato. And yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. If you see stuff like this, anything like these vines and everything, I was watching a video where a woman got arrested. That was part of the reason I did this live, to talk to people. If you, like, I know how to do all this, but if you're not a landscaper and you just do stuff to people's property, this woman got arrested because she was ripping out weeds and clipping things and fighting with landscapers, and she was trying to do a good job, and she was from another country, and she didn't understand we're not allowed to do that. So I felt like that was a good thing to make a live about, is even though you may know something about plants, that doesn't mean you can just run around and fix everybody's stuff, because technically that's trespassing. Yeah, they cut the grass there too. Yeah, that's weird. This time of year, November, you don't even have to do that. They were probably waiting until it was cold because they're sissies. That's probably what it was. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. You guys have a good day.